Everton hammered in Merseyside Derby. Ranić promised Haaland bonus. Zlatan ages like a fine wine, and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the One Footballers, and this is the Daily News. So first off, and a quick look at some of last night's action, and Liverpool absolutely demolished Everton. This has got to be one of the most embarrassing Merseyside derbies in recent history for Everton, because they're on their own patch. They were just torn apart. Rafa Benitez and the team did not have an answer. Literally the only brief glimmer of hope they had was scoring just before half-time. But that was about it, really. Liverpool were just so much better, from Jordan Henderson in the midfield to Alisson in goal, and of course to Mo Salah out front grabbing a couple of excellent goals. They just outran Benitez's side on the pitch, so much so that everyone kind of forgot that this was Benitez facing off against his former club in the first Merseyside derby of the season, because everyone was talking about how bad they were. That means in the last 8 games, Everton's record stands at no wins, 2 draws and 6 losses. But is it all Rafa Benitez's fault? On one hand, you could look at a few injuries, especially to the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who helped them gain 7 points at the start of the season with 3 goals in 3 games, but has been injured since. Yerry Mina's also out, and Abdoulaye Doucouré as well. But it looks as though, especially when you listen to the fans at the end of the game, the main problem is the board. There are questions of whether or not they've done the right things in the transfer market, whether or not the right staff and recruitment have been put in place to give Rafa Benitez the best chance of succeeding at the club. Of course, after his appointment, there were murmurs of discontent from Everton are hiring a former Liverpool manager, especially someone that was so successful with their rivals. And now, is it too soon to sack him? I mean, weirder things have happened. Managers that were brought in over the summer, like Nuno at Spurs, have already been sacked. And after 14 games, maybe we could see Everton looking for a new manager in the new year. But yeah, like I mentioned, from Liverpool's side, they were brilliant. They were so much better than Everton, and they keep up the title race along with Chelsea and Manchester City. Chelsea were 2-1 victors at Watford, and well, they didn't have their brightest game, but they still managed to come home with 3 points, which is always the sign of a champion, and it keeps them 1 point ahead of Manchester City, who went to Villa Park, and not only did they win 2-1, not only did Jack Grealish return to his former club to a warm reception, and a couple of boos, of course, but Bernardo Silva scored a stunning goal, potentially goal of the season, with a ridiculously good volley, showing off some stunning technique. And actually, talking of very good goals, last night West Ham drew 1-0 with Brighton, and check out Neil Maupay's equaliser for Brighton. That was also a ridiculously good acrobatic kick. Finally, though, in the Premier League, we send our well wishes to those 2 fans who collapsed, causing both the Leicester and Southampton game and the Chelsea-Watford game to be abandoned for just a little bit of time. So everyone in the One Football family wishes them and their families well. Right, moving on now into a bit of transfer news. And of course, when there's transfer news, it always involves Manchester United. But this time there's actually some serious transfer news from United involving Erling Haaland, and that is because they have their new man in charge, Ralf Rangnick. When he was at RB Leipzig overseeing their football operations, he had talks with Erling Haaland and with his dad and his agent as well about potentially moving to Leipzig. Of course, it didn't happen. He ended up moving to Dortmund from RB Salzburg, but their reporting was quite good chemistry and they got along quite well, so much so that it looks as though the new Manchester United manager may be making Haaland his #1 target for next summer. And if he does, there's quite a healthy bonus in it for him as well. Apparently, the new man will get 8.5 million euros if he manages to attract the Norwegian to the club. And it will certainly make Manchester United a rather interesting proposition up front. I mean, yes, they have got Cristiano Ronaldo. There are rumours that he may be leaving at the end of the season after just 1 year back at Manchester United. But imagine a front three: Rashford, fit and on form on the left, Haaland through the middle, and Sancho on the right, finally getting some game time and proving what he's worth. That could be one of the deadliest front threes, not just now, but for the next 10 years or so, because they're all so young. That would be unbelievable, but hold off for a bit, Manchester United fans, because despite the fact that there is a £67 million release clause in Haaland's contract, and despite the fact I'm talking about Rangnick having a good reputation and a good relationship with Haaland's camp, there's still going to be a load of teams who want him. Pretty much everybody. Everybody who's got the money and can get their hands on Haaland will want to, so it's not exactly like Manchester United the front of the queue just yet. Moving on then, and there's a bit more of last night's football as Zlatan Ibrahimovic just ages like a fine wine. 40 years old and banging in a free kick to grab his 6th goal of the season for AC Milan to set them on their way to a 3-0 victory, which sees them just 1 point behind league leaders Napoli. The thing is with Zlatan, I think is the most amazing, is that despite the fact he's doing this at 40 years old, which is incredible in himself, he also came back to the top. It's not like when you're a great player and you stay at a club, and you know, if you're going through a bit of a bad patch, let's say heading into your late 30s, you can rely on a bit of sentiment, you can rely on a longer contract, and you can rely on basically what you've done for the club to keep you moving forward and to keep you there. But for Zlatan to leave, obviously went to PSG, Manchester United, then to LA Galaxy, and no disrespect to the MLS, but he's taken a bit of a step down in terms of league quality, in terms of playing quality, to make the step back up, convince AC Milan he's still got what it takes, and then to prove it on the pitch over the last, year and a half, really takes some doing, and it looks as though he may even get a new contract to take him into his 41st birthday and beyond. I know that personality-wise, many people have a bit of an issue with the way he handles himself on and off the pitch, and that's a separate discussion. But in terms of pure footballing ability, it's ridiculous what he's still able to do, age 40. But moving from Serie A and to La Liga, where Real Madrid have opened up not only a 7-point gap at the top of La Liga, ahead of second place, but they also moved 13 points ahead of Barcelona, and I probably will mention them in the terms of the title race for the last time this season. I know there's a lot of football to be played, but I cannot see Barcelona not only coming back into the top 4, but on top of this, challenging Real Madrid for the La Liga title, I don't quite see it happening. I think Xavi could take Barcelona to a Champions League spot in the top 4, but yeah, they're going to be a very, very long way behind Real Madrid come the end of the season. In fact, now they're 13 points behind, as last night, Karim Benzema's 17th goal of the season saw them to a 1-0 victory over Athletic Bilbao. Right then, finally we come to a quick round-up of the rest of the day's transfer news, and other news that you might have missed, and Tottenham defender Christian Romero will be out until at least February. That is according to Antonio Conte, who spoke yesterday about the Argentine's hamstring injury. Elsewhere, and Barcelona are interested in taking Chelsea Cesar Azpilicueta on a free transfer at the end of the season. Dortmund have joined the race to sign Darwin Núñez, the Benfica striker, and lastly but not least, Roma are appearing one of the candidates to sign Xavi Simons, the PSG midfielder who will not be signing a new contract, which runs out at the end of the season. So that's all from me then. Make sure you check back tomorrow for loads more OneFootball content.